Hi, ladies. Welcome to In Between Rounds. I am here this week to chat with you about all of the tools or tips that you need to stay on track this fall. Because, you know, Labor Day just happened. This is sort of our first week of back to school for those of you who have kids or back to activities. There are many of us heading back into the office, whether that's full time, part time, or maybe due to these new restrictions. Some of you are just sitting here waiting to find out exactly what the plan is because it seems to continue to change. So, regardless, this is generally one of the busiest seasons for most of us as we try to get back into a routine after having fun for the summer. So I wanted to spend my time today just going over 5 tools or tips that I think that I want you to keep in mind as we move through this season. So I know you've heard me say it over and over again. But the first thing that I want you to make sure that you are doing is that you are being realistic. So make sure to take some time to review your goals. And when I say realistic, I mean realistic also while we're still in this pandemic. So it's really important that you're still able to work within your limits, whether that has to do with those of you that have kids and you're rushing around, dropping off, picking up, making time for their homework, their skills. Maybe you don't have kids, but your workload gets heavier this season. So there's always those things that need to come into play when I talk about being realistic. But it obviously also is important that the goals you are setting are realistic for you in the time you're giving yourself to achieve them. So you may want to look at some of these broader things and just break them down and set yourself some realistic goals that you know you can accomplish this season. Okay, this whether it's in the next 8 or 12 weeks, if you can think of it as something that you can chop into smaller bits, it's going to make it much more realistic for you to achieve that big goal down the road, and you're going to see that progress if you can do those smaller pieces. So the other thing that I find will help with that is also make sure you're making it fun. And when something's fun, it's easier to fit it in. And I know that there's some of you saying, well, working out is just never fun for me. And if you're someone who really struggles to find fun in working out, that's okay. Find other ways to make it fun. And so whether that's like pumping music you like or just setting the tone or the mood differently, because maybe you don't actually enjoy the working out or you enjoy the way you feel after. And so if you can remind yourself about how good that feels, it does make it easier to jump into things and get that workout started. We've talked about this in the past. Starting is the hardest part. So get your body moving and you're going to be able to stick to it so much more. So my second tip is, I guess, along those lines. And again, you've heard this before. You need to make a plan or a schedule. And my advice to you is to review it week by week. So you don't have to plan the next year of your life or even 8 weeks of your life for that matter. Of course, you need to plan it out in terms of what steps you need to take to reach your goal. But if each week you revisit your calendar, this is the best way to schedule in your workouts because weeks change, things change. I mean, our world changes week by week, it seems like lately. So if you can take a peek at your calendar before the week begins, or maybe whether you do it every Sunday or Monday first thing, and plan out your week. And I'm going to go as far as try to figure out not only what days you plan to do your workouts, but also what time, or at least the time of day. Because if you write that into your calendar, you are much, much, much more likely to get it in because it's in there. Make an appointment for yourself. But also keep in mind that things may change and give yourself some room for error. So if you know that you may have a busier weekend coming up, it's okay to front load that week and try to get as much in as you can. And then if you didn't, of course, you do have that extra time to squeeze things in before your week is up. And on that note, I also want to loop back and bring in the idea of also meal prepping or meal planning more than even meal prepping. Plan your week out in terms of your meals. It's going to save you so much time, so much effort, and it'll also save you money because now you're going and you're at the grocery store getting just the items that you need, nothing extra that may tempt you, but you're also going to have a lot less waste because you're not just buying food just because normally you like to have this in the house, but you have no idea what you're doing with it. So when I talk about schedule, when I talk about planning, that's your workouts, that's also your meal planning and meal prepping. And it may also mean planning in that downtime as well, because it's very easy just to get wrapped up in everything. And so make sure you have time for you to relax, stretch, and maybe it even is a daily thing where you're winding down each day. Um, when I Now that we've got our schedule down packed, you know when you're working out, my third tip for you is to track or log your workouts. Okay, this is huge. And I know many of you are doing this, and I know at times it may seem redundant, but it is actually so important because this is one of the best ways for you to see your own progress. And it's also going to help keep you accountable to yourself. I'm always here to help keep you accountable, but if you have other ways for you to bring that accountability into your own self and your own world, that's even better. It's going to give you the strength to carry this for a lifetime. And I don't also, or I don't just mean, tracking your workouts, tracking any cardio that you do, obviously the weights and reps you're doing. That's a great way to see progress. But if you're someone whose goal has a lot more to do with aesthetics goals, then for you, I would also suggest that you track that. You take measurements, but even more than measurements, my biggest sort of advice is to actually take photos. Photos will show you big changes where sometimes measurements, whether that be like your weight, may not always show you the changes that are happening, and photos let you see all those little things as they're changing. So as you're increasing your muscles, things are changing. Even your posture will change as you continue with your strength program. And to me, those are huge wins. They may seem little, but that is huge for your overall fitness and your overall strength and just that overall well-being. So make sure you are keeping track of everything. And of course, it's a great way for me to help keep you accountable as well. My fourth tip for you is a big one because this is huge when it comes to motivation, because we all know that, like, we all slip, we all fall off the wagon here and there. And so take this time as the seasons change to revisit your why. So why you started, or what was it that motivated you to start this program? It's so important for you to know why this matters to you, because that's such a big driving force. When something matters and you know why it matters to you, it's so much easier to stick to it. Sometimes when you revisit your why, you may actually find out that a goal you thought you had isn't important to you. And that's okay. Sometimes we're influenced by social media to think that we need to have a goal, or I've convinced you that you need to fit X number of workouts into your week. And if that's not important to you, that's okay. Finding out what is important to you is the big thing that matters, because that's going to be, in my opinion, the ultimate best way that you're going to stick with your program. And I'll finish my list here with my fifth tip. And maybe this one's even bigger than number 4, but my fifth tip is to forgive yourself. because let's face it, shit happens. All right, you can be on such a roll and everything else in your life blows up, and that happens, and that's okay. You know, you'll fall off, you can always get back on. So make sure you're being kind to yourself. Okay, missing a workout isn't the end of the world. Life will go on. Okay, so we're always going to get busy. Things are always going to happen. So just make sure that you forgive yourself and move on. And, move on back to your program. But basically, it's going to happen. Okay, and I think the hardest part is realizing that you aren't alone and you aren't the only person that this happens to. We all miss workouts here and there, and you just have to give yourself a little grace, because truly, 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 it's not going to ruin all of the hard work that you've already put in. Being consistent is the biggest thing. Having little blips where you fall off is not going to be the end of the world. So follow and review these 5 tips. Be realistic, schedule it in, track and log your workouts, revisit your why, and of course, forgive yourself. And you will have the most successful fall you've had to date. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let me know if you do have any questions. Also, I want to thank you for participating in all of my programs, whether that's quietly doing the workouts or commenting in these posts. I just want you to know that this community sure has made pandemic life a whole heck of a lot better. So thank you guys. I know I love you guys. I'm so happy to have this community, and I know that you guys have been really truly helping each other. So keep up the awesome work, and I look forward to an amazing fall season with all of you. I will see you on the internet.